Hello, how are you, everyone? Today is a very auspicious day. Today is the Akshay Tritiya and also Parshuram Jayanti, and we are also celebrating Eid. So, all the festivals are together today. Scattering theory and partial wave analysis is today's our topic. Partial waves are to be introduced today in this scattering theory. So, let me come to the first slide where we are going to see that partial waves, the introductory part. The partial wave analysis in context of quantum mechanics refers to a technique for solving scattering problem by decomposing each wave into its constituent angular momentum components and solving using boundary conditions. Partial wave analysis, in short, we call it PWA, is a technique used in scattering theory. The PWA describes the expansion of total amplitude of elastic scattering of spinless particles in the encounter of the center of mass system in Legendre polynomials. So we are going to use the Legendre polynomials. In a broader sense, the total amplitude of a quantum system is decomposed into sum of partial waves describing various components of the scattering process. These components may themselves be further decomposed into more partial waves and so on until there is a model describing the smallest partial waves. Now let me come to the next slide. The partial wave, now coming to the spherical symmetric potential. So the potential with the spherical symmetry gives Schrodinger equation into radial and angular parts. So we have already discussed in our earlier lectures the three-dimensional Schrodinger equation in polar coordinates can be decomposed into two parts, angular and radial part. So the solution is having a form RLR YLM theta phi, where the radial wave function RLR satisfies the following equation. So this is the radial equation we have already derived earlier. So it is 1 upon r squared d by dr, r squared d RL by r plus 2 mu by h cut square e minus v LL plus 1 h cut square divided by 2 mu r square RL r equal to 0. We term it as equation number 1. The general solution of Schrodinger equation can be written as a linear combination of such solutions. In the scattering problem, only the function RLR YL0 theta phi, because we have taken not YLM, but it is YL0, proportional to RLR PL cos theta, because we have neglected phi over here, appears in the linear combination because this is because the particle is traveling in a z direction initially. And so that z component of angular momentum is 0. And it continues to be 0 because spherical symmetry does not change it. And therefore, the phi is neglected. And we can write ux in terms of a series. So ux is equal to L 0 to infinity, L 0 to infinity, R L R P L cos theta, that is termed as equation number 2. So the term corresponding to a particular value of L in the series is called the Lth partial wave. So if L is equal to 2, then it is known as second partial. And it is represented as on the diagram on the right hand side. Now let me come to the next slide. So here we are going to compare the partial wave analysis with the Born approximation. The Born approximation is truncation of a particular expansion of ux. Truncation means becoming smaller, smaller, and smaller, tending towards 0. Whereas the partial wave is based on the expansion of ux in terms of angular momentum eigenfunction. So the expansion is taking place in form of a series in terms of angular momentum eigenfunctions. So it is applicable when spherical potential is available or potential is spherically symmetric. This expansion of ux must be such that it should consist the asymptotic condition applicable in equation number 3. So equation number 3 is given in a box. So that is the asymptotic condition containing a plane wave and spherical wave at infinitely large distance. So this asymptotic condition we have already seen earlier. So that is consisting, if you are standing at infinitely large distance from the scattering center, we will observe two things. One is the direct plane wave coming, another is a scattered wave. And that is also applicable in our day-to-day life. Any object we are seeing through our eyes, we see two things. One, direct sunlight coming from sun. Another is sunlight scattered by a particular object. So if we are standing at an infinitely large distance or a very large distance from any object, in our eyes, we'll see these two things. So this is a very logical case, and this condition has to be imposed. So when this condition is imposed, then one obtains a formal expression of the scattering amplitude as an infinite series, and that is in contribution of f theta phi from partial wave characterized by a particular momentum. The partial wave method leads to low energy approximation, which is the complement to the Born approximation at high energies. So one is for the high energy, one is for the low energy. So partial wave is for the low energy, Born approximation is for the high energy. Asymptotic form of a radial function. So the requirement is that the ux should fulfill the following asymptotic condition. This condition we have already discussed, that is represented by equation 3. This puts constraints on the radial wave function RLR. We come to the next slide. Now we are assuming, as per the left side blue box, chi LR is equal to RLR. And we rearrange this, R inverse chi LR equal to RLR. We are taking the first derivative. So dRLR divided by dr. So it is d by dr, R inverse chi LR. So it is written as minus 1 upon r square chi L plus 1 upon r d chi L by dr. Now we just do mathematical jugglery or mathematical trick. We multiply both sides by r square. So it is r square drl r divided by dr is equal to r square in bracket minus 1 upon r square chi L plus 1 upon r d chi L by dr, and the outcome is equal to minus chi L plus R d chi L by dr. So this is for the first derivative. On the right hand side is the red box, that is for the second derivative. So whatever we achieved in the first derivative, it is written d by dr minus chi L plus R d chi L by dr. And we are taking a one more derivative. So it is minus d chi L by dr plus d d by dr of r. So it is dr by dr. Ultimately, it becomes 1 plus r d2 chi L by dr square. So it is minus d chi L by dr plus d chi L by dr plus r d2 chi L by dr square. So plus minus terms cancels out. So it is d by dr r square d2 drl by dr, and that is ultimately equal to d by dr. Whatever we have obtained in the first term, that is shown here, it is minus chi L plus r d chi L by dr, that is equal to what we have obtained, r d2 chi L by dr square, because plus minus term cancels out. Now we again do mathematical trick. So we multiply both these terms by 1 upon r square. So it is 1 upon r square in bracket r square drl by dr. So it is 1 upon r square r. It is replaced by this particular term. So it is r d2 chi L by dr square. So it is ultimately 1 upon r d2 chi L by dr square. That is termed as equation 4. Now we are taking, as per the green box, k square is equal to 2me divided by h cut square, and ur is equal to 2mvr by h cut square. That is equation number 5. Putting this value in our radial equation, so radial equation becomes 1 upon r d2 chi L by dr square plus 2m divided by r h cut square in bracket k square h cut square divided by 2m minus ur h cut square divided by 2m minus l plus 1 h cut square divided by 2mr square, and multiplied by chi L. So if we simplify, it is 1 upon r d2 chi L by dr square and plus 1 upon r k square minus ur L L plus 1 divided by r square chi L equal to 0. Now we are dividing by 1 upon r both the sides. So it is d2 chi L by dr square plus k square minus ur minus L L plus 1 divided by r square chi L equal to 0. And the last term, L L plus 1, the term is known as a centrifugal potential that we have marked. And this is known as equation number 6. Now we come to the next slide. In the asymptotic region, both UR and the centrifugal potential are proportional to 1 upon R squared, and they are very small. So we are neglecting with the comparison to K square. So one can obtain the approximate asymptotic solution. It is chi LR proportional to e to the power plus or minus IKR. And we want to remove the proportionality sign, so we have to introduce proportionality factor. So it is chi LR equal to VLR plus or minus IKR. And here we have a VR is expected to be very slowly changing in the asymptotic region. So taking a first derivative of this with respect to R, so d chi L by dr. So it is d chi L by dr. It is equal to dVL by dr e to the power plus or minus IKR as it is, then plus or minus e to the power plus or minus IKR in bracket IKVL. So we have first order differentiation. So taking the second order derivative with respect to R, so it is d2 chi L by dr square in bracket d2VL by dr square e to the power plus or minus IKR plus we are taking a differentiation of VL. So it is plus or minus e to the power plus or minus IKR IK. We are taking a differentiation of e to the power plus or minus IKR. And dVL by dr unaffected plus e to the power plus or minus IKR I square K square VL plus or minus e to the power IKR in bracket IK dVL by dr. Now this third term we are writing for plus because we have a multiplication 2 times plus or minus, and that is plus plus is again plus, minus minus is again plus. So the third term is not plus or minus, only plus term. And therefore it is d2 chi L by d is equal to d2VL by dr square e to the power plus or minus IKR plus or minus 2 times because the second term and fourth term are same. So it is 2 times 2 e to the power I plus or minus IKR in bracket IK dVL by dr. And the last term is e to the power plus or minus IKR I square K square VL. That is termed as equation number 9. Now using equation number 9 in equation number 6, and that is d2VL by dr square e to the power plus or minus IKR plus or minus 2 e to the power IKR my in bracket IK dVL by dr, then plus e to the power IKR I square K square VL plus K square e to the power plus or minus IKR VL minus UR e to the power plus or minus IKR VL. Last term is L plus 1 divided by R square e to the power plus or minus IKR VL equal to 0. Now the third term we have marked over here, taking that I square is equal to minus 1. So we are modifying d2VL by dr square e to the power plus or minus IKR plus 2 e to the power plus or minus IKR in bracket IK dVL by dr minus e to the power plus or minus IKR K square because I square is equal to minus 1 VL plus K square e to the power plus or minus IKR VL. So the third term and fourth term will cancel out minus UR e to the power plus or minus IKR VL. Last term minus LL plus 1 divided by R square e to the power plus or minus IKR VL. So now we come to the third equation d2VL by dr square e to the power plus or minus IKR plus or minus 2 e to the power IKR minus in bracket IK dVL by dr minus UR e to the power plus or minus IKRVL. Last term is LL plus 1 divided by R square e to the power plus or minus IKRVL equal to 0. Now we have noticed that each term is having e to the power plus or minus IKR. So we divide both sides by this. So it is ultimately d2VL by dr square plus or minus 2IK dVL by dr in bracket UR plus LL plus 1 divided by R square VL equal to 0. Now, since VL is nearly constant for a very large value of R, and it can be expected that VL double prime means d2VL by dr square is much less than VL prime means dVL by dr. So therefore, d2VL by dr square can be neglected. So the first term can be neglected in equation number 10. So now we are focusing on the remaining part, and that is shown in a black square or black box. So plus or minus 2 IKR dVL by dr minus in bracket UR plus LL plus 1 divided by R square VL equal to 0. Now taking the bracket on the right hand side, so plus or minus 2 IK dVL by dr equal to ULR LL plus 1 divided by R square bracket over VL. Now we can write dVL by VL, taking this 2IK on the right hand side. So it will be in a denominator plus or minus 1 upon 2IK in bracket UR plus LL plus 1 divided by R square into. So now the multiplying the right hand side by I divided by I and taking I square equal to minus 1. So dVL by VL is not plus or minus, minus plus I divided by 2K and in bracket UR plus LL plus 1 divided by R square dr. That is termed as equation number 11. Now this is the differential equation. So we can integrate equation number 11. So that is shown in a yellow box. It is integral dVL by VL is equal to minus plus integral I divided by 2K and in bracket UR plus LL plus 1 divided by R square dr. So we know that the left-hand side is a standard form of integration. So it can be written as log VL is equal to minus plus I divided by 2K because that is the constant quantity. Can be taken out of the integral. Integration is taken for R and in bracket UR plus LL plus 1 divided by R squared dr. Now, if UR is proportional to 1 upon R, that is the Coulomb potential. And the second term is LL plus 1 divided by R square. So as R tends to infinity, the first term is varying to 1 upon R and second term is varying to 1 upon R square. So second term is very small with comparison to the first term. So it can be neglected. So it is written in the last equation. So integral UR plus LL plus 1 divided by R square R can be approximated or tending to in case of infinitely large R dr by R and can be written as equal to log R. So that is termed as equation number 13. Now for any potential decreasing faster than 1 upon R at infinity means that R UR tending towards infinity as R tends to infinity. The integral 12 is convergent, becoming smaller and smaller, which indicates that if R is large enough, the value of integral is effectively independent of R, and hence VLR is constant quantity in asymptotic region. So in asymptotic region, R tends to infinity, VLR can be considered as a constant quantity. If the asymptotic form of chi LR is some linear combination of two solutions of equation 7 for VL constant, that e to the power IKR and e to the power minus IKR. The combination of the two, the linear combination, gives the sinusoidal function that we know that. So chi L at infinitely large distance tending to CL sine KR plus delta L. That is termed as equation number 14. So CL and delta L are constant. All quantities appearing in the differential equation satisfied by chi LR are real. Delta L is real. CL may be complex. Now we come to the next slide. Now the part is regarding the phase shift. Comparing this asymptotic behavior with that of the partial waves of a free particle for Vr equal to 0. Wherever particle is free, no potential is applying. And that is why Vr is taken as 0. It is known that in any range of R over which Vr is constant, the solutions of the radial wave functions or radial wave equations are spherical Bessel functions. And those are represented by JL and NL. So the spherical Bessel functions can be used for the solution. If V is equal to 0 for everywhere, then only admissible solution is JLKR. So we are considering JLKR, the spherical Bessel function. But the spherical Bessel functions can be of two types, and NL is ruled out because it becomes infinite at R equal to 0. So the spherical Bessel functions are of two types. Those are represented in this figure. So the another spherical Bessel function is second type is known as a Newman function, and that is shown over here. That is a Newman function. In this Newman function, we can see that when it tends to 0, R tends to 0, or R becomes 0, then it becomes infinitely large. Here it is infinitely large. It is parallel to the y-axis, so it is infinitely large. While in the first figure, the spherical Bessel function JLKR, when R becomes 0, it is either is 0 or it is on the x-axis or y-axis. It is on the y-axis. So this is not infinite. So Newman function is infinitely large. It becomes parallel to y-axis at R equal to 0. So the second function becomes parallel to y-axis, infinitely large. So it is taken, ruled out, and it is not considered. So NL is considered as a Newman function. Thus, for RLR equal to constant JLKR in the case of a free particle, we are ruling out the another spherical Bessel function NL because it becomes infinitely large, as we have seen in this second figure. So asymptotic form for the spherical Bessel functions are represented in the green box by equation number 15 and 16. So JLKR tending to KR inverse sine KR minus 1 half alpha. And Newman function, it is NLKR minus KR inverse cos KR minus 1 half alpha. But we have ruled out the Newman function. So as R tends to infinity, chi LR is equal to RLR, and that is tending to constant sine KR minus 1 half L pi, that is equation number 17. So we are ruling out the Newman function. So we are taking only the spherical Bessel function depending on J, L, K, R. And those are again represented in form of the chi L, R. And that is represented by equation 17. Therefore, chi L is having the asymptotic form of equation 14, where we have a delta L equal to minus 1 half L pi. So let us go back. It is equation number 14 that is similar to equation number 14 for asymptotic condition. So where capital delta L is equal to minus 1 half L pi. The effect of the potential on the partial waves in the asymptotic region is simply to change the phase from minus 1 half L pi to some value, capital delta L. So the effect of potential on the partial wave in the asymptotic region is to change the phase from minus 1 half L pi to some value, capital delta L. This change is represented as small delta L equal to capital delta L plus minus 1 half L pi, and that is represented as number 18. This is called the phase shift in the Lth partial wave. Now we come to the next slide. In the absence of potential, the asymptotic form is represented as a blue box on the right hand side. In the presence of potential, the asymptotic form is represented as a blue box on the right hand side. In the left hand side blue box, the incoming wave is represented by incoming wave. It is e to the power minus IKR, incoming spherical wave converging on the target. So incoming spherical wave, they are converging on the target. The second term is showing the outgoing spherical wave. So first wave is incoming spherical wave. Second term shows the outgoing spherical wave in the absence of potential. Now, same thing can be represented for a potential case. So it is proportional to e to the power minus ikr. Incoming spherical wave is as it is, which is hitting the target. And the second term is different. It is e to the power minus 2I capital delta L into e to the power ikr. So outgoing spherical wave is modified. Instead of e to the power I L pi, it becomes e to the power 2I delta L. In the presence of potential, the phase differs from the free case by a factor. It is SL, capital SL, equal to e to the power 2I delta L. That is equation number 90. Equation number 90. The effect of potential on spherical wave is contained entirely in this factor, which is represented by SL. And sometimes it is called the matrix factor. And for the further reading, I suggest that a textbook of quantum mechanics by Matthews and Venkatesan. Now we come to the, as usual, the importance of the partial wave analysis. Hexen and Holzmark first applied partial wave analysis to scattering theory in quantum mechanics in 1929. So almost 90 years back. The importance of partial wave, I found out, these are not all the areas, but some importance are partial wave analysis is an important tool for determining resonance properties in hadron spectroscopy. Partial wave analysis of the decay of Haperon of spin 1/2 is also obtained. Partial wave analysis of positron-xenon collision in the low energy is also studied. Partial wave analysis in pion deuteron elastic scattering is also studied. So partial wave is a very important theory in quantum mechanics, even in the nuclear physics and particle physics. And we come to the last slide. I've taken the last slide purposefully. This is a lake with lot of waves. These are depicting the partial wave. And this is the radiation of sun hitting the target and waves are generated. So everything is looking in terms of a partial wave. Here, the partial wave, here the sun hitting the waves of the lake. Thank you so much for patient hearing. Thank you very much. This is the special day and just wish you happy Akshay Tritiya. And now I stop sharing the slides. And thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I end meeting right now. Thank you.